Welcome to the London Horror Movie Club. I'm horror writer Lauren Jane Barnett.
And I'm Chris Sapikowski, Lauren's older brother, and I've been watching horror movies since I was 8.
Join us as we talk about the wild, weird, and wonderful horror films set in England's eerie capital. Hi everyone, welcome back to the London Horror Movie Club. Chris and I have been watching this month An American Werewolf in London. After two American students, David and Jack, are attacked by a werewolf while hiking in England, David wakes up in a London hospital, unsure if he's losing his mind or becoming a wolf. But before we dive straight into this, hey Chris, I want to know what you've been watching as well as this for the past month or so.
Well, hey, how's it going? Yeah, I've watched a lot actually. Obviously, American Werewolf in London was my number one thing to watch, and it was a new watch. I feel like I'd seen a few scenes here and there. Maybe I'd seen it in the past, but like for the first time, like knew what was going on. But yeah, that's not obviously the only thing that we watch. And I saw a movie that I think everyone needs to see at least one time if you're a fan of horror.
Ooh.
And it is Brandon Cronenberg's Infinity Pool.
So I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard a bit about it. Tell me what's the like summary.
Okay, so summary without any spoilers. Alexander Skarsgård, he's a writer and he's looking for inspiration, and he's married, wealthy. They've decided to go to a resort on a reclusive Croatian island. So it's an all-inclusive resort on this like super poor island.
Okay.
There's a lot of obviously like resort people there because it's in season. And then all I can say after that is basically like a mixture of like ayahuasca, LSD, acid with like a hint of speed. You know, like
gosh.
it was insanity on film, but it was great. I was kind of tired after I watched it because I was like kind of on the edge of my seat the whole time.
Wow.
But I definitely recommend it. Like it wasn't horror. Like I say that, but it's just because from my understanding, and I'm going to dig deeper into the Cronenberg family movies archive, but they do things a little bit unorthodox, right? And
yeah,
it definitely kind of hyper violent, but not hyper gory. Really interesting ways things were shot, but like it was great and crazy at the same time. Like I don't know if I'll ever watch it again, but I want everyone to watch it at least once.
that sounds amazing. I have a weird question for you. I'm a huge fan of David Cronenberg, and
Okay.
his stuff's really like psychological. There's a lot of body horror, but it's really like about people and their minds as well. Is it like that too, or does he go in a totally different direction?
Yes. I think, and like I said, I'm not a Cronenberg like a junkie at this point. I know that there are movies that are kind of on my list that people have told me to watch. But yes, my understanding is it kind of fits right into that genre of what they do.
Oh, cool. So is it just for people out there, is there an extreme that maybe people might want to know about, or is it just anybody could get something out of it?
I think anybody could get something out of it. It kind of gave me hints to Clockwork Orange.
Ooh, cool. Okay.
In a way, I mean, and you could see it and you'd be like, what the heck is he talking about? But it just kind of gave me Clockwork Orange vibes. But I enjoyed it. But then again, I enjoy most horror films, and I'm not a big slow burn person, and this movie had a good pace to it. It could have been filmed 20 years ago. It could have been filmed yesterday. Like, it's just I just enjoyed it. What have you seen anything different? I know you've been on the offensive with the book coming out and different talks, but have you been able to sit down and just kind of veg out in front of the screen?
Yeah, a little bit. As you said, not as much as I usually would. I usually would have been able to like rattle off in a month probably 10 films. I'm not sure what that says about how I spent my time. But actually not as many, because it's been I've been doing talks and stuff, and so I've been like rewatching clips of films. But I finally watched something that is sort of a like really, it's a British classic, is maybe not totally right. But it's really popular here. Called Vampires Circus. It was on BritBox, which is a good, I don't know if you guys have it over there, it's streaming service for the BBC. And if you're in Britain, they're quietly killing it on the horror front. They have all the old classic horrors like Blood on Satan's Claw and stuff like that. Have you seen that one?
No, but I for the low price of $5.99 a month, I believe I can get BritBox through my Amazon Prime, and that might be watched between now and our next episode. That's it. Why not? You enjoyed it. I think it might be worth a shot.
Yeah, it's definitely on that like 70s spectrum of the 60s, 70s maybe, of like the weird and strange. A circus comes into town and like you're not sure what's going on. Some of the animals or people, and some people are getting seduced by the vampires, and there's vengeance going on, and lots of interesting people sort of dying or turning into strange creatures. It's kind of trippy, but really mesmerizing. I liked it.
No, that's interesting though, because a circus is a great place, or a carnival would be a great place for a horror movie to take place, because it's already built up for lots and lots of people, chaos going around, and freaks.
Yes, because they did that with the Mutations in the 70s, also a London horror movie, where they set it up in like a twist way so that it's the carnival traveling through the Battersea Fair and people suspect them, but there's more going on than you actually think. And I know for a time there's been a huge break in that with horror because people worried about the ethics around that. But I do think there's a way you can do it that makes it work, like with American Horror Story. They had that series that I think did it really well and kind of thoughtfully. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I agree 100%. American Horror Story is obviously beloved by a lot of people, and it's very popular. And that season of Carnival ranked among many people's favorites, and I think they did just that. Like, it was great. It was horrifying, but still, it did what it needed to do. BritBox does it again.
Yes, see, I'm gonna just all the BritBox all the time. They're gonna have to start paying us.
Yeah, no free ads, BritBox, but you can definitely set me up with a free BritBox subscription, and that'll be fine. I'll talk about it all the time.
Oh my God, yes. If anyone knows anyone, I am up for it. But speaking of sort of like crazy places, though, there's a lot of really good movies that have other crazy places. But I love American Werewolf, which if you don't mind, has the zoo.
Let's do it. Yes.
The zoo scene I thought was such a great use of the London Zoo, because he wakes up in a wolf cage.
No, it was great. Obviously, we're going into American Werewolf in London, and yeah, that was a great scene. So I was a little bit thrown off for two reasons, and let me back up. Yes, the zoo was great, but I did not know what to expect, first of all. And so you have your blood and guts, and you have, because Jack, who's the two guys, is I have it written down here because you know how bad I am with names.
Oh, it's Griffin Dunne. He's brilliant.
He's good. He's been in a lot of things, or a lot of 80s things.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen him a whole lot recently, but he gets killed pretty much right away. But he is just gruesome. Like, he is just ripped to shreds. And after I watched it, I noticed John Landis directed that movie. So John Landis directed some of my favorite movies, and it comes from the comedies, though.
This is why I was so shocked you hadn't seen it, because we loved Three Amigos growing up and stuff like that.
Three Amigos, Spies Like Us, Blues Brothers, Animal House. But he also did, which I actually could kind of recognize it now. He did one of the all-time, probably the most watched horror, and I'll call it a short, that anyone's seen in the world. Is he did the Thriller video for Michael Jackson.
Yeah, he did.
So now when Jack comes into David's, he visits his friend, basically telling him, you've been bitten by a werewolf, and until you die, like, I have to walk around the world in this grotesque form. But like, when he's like sitting in the hospital talking to him, when he's like partially decaying, or they see him at the end in the adult film theater, and that's the same. I mean, he kind of took that same makeup and that same artistry of the flesh and stuff and put it into Thriller.
Yeah, it's totally true. Well, this film won the Academy Award for makeup. because
Oh,
of,
it did.
yeah.
Okay. I totally get it. Well, I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was good. You know, my brain does this, especially when I know just enough to think I know something. They're in the moors
Mhm.
and they're backpacking through Europe. So they've kind of said, hey, we got 3 months. We'll start in the north of England and we'll be in Italy so we can deal with being cold and rainy now. And they're in the moors and they go to the Slaughtered Lamb pub, which why wouldn't you? And it has just the hills have eyes people. Like it has just the hill people, you know, and it's kind of creepy, but like they're kind of getting razzed by the crowd until they mention like the pentagram on the wall. And then they kick them out. Werewolf comes, people trying to hunt the werewolf, blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, it's 3 months later, and David Kessler, the one who survives, who just got bit, is in London. Now, I don't know enough to know what I don't know, but are the moors not up by Newcastle, Middlesbrough, like that northeast part of England?
Yeah, Yorkshire moors is what they're going for, yes. So it is
Okay,
a long transport down.
so why? I mean, that means he would have went through, or he would have passed Manchester hospitals, Birmingham hospitals, and then to the southeast of London, to the southeast of England to London.
Yes. So
Although
I totally agree with you. That's bonkers and kind of a long way to somebody who supposedly is about to die and is like bleeding out. The
Right.
only way I can justify this, and this is just, let me be honest, I love this movie, so I want to justify it. This is not a great justification. You know how back home in the States, you go to the hospital and maybe they need like a really good, extra amazing surgeon. So instead of going to, well, actually UNC hospital is really good. But so instead of going to like a South Carolina hospital, they might ship you to UNC for a specialist doctor.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my guess, is that the Yorkshire hospital or whatever, they were like, oh, he needs special care. They're going to send him down to London. That being said, the hospital they sent him to is it's not St. Thomas's. It's not the London University Hospital. It's like the stinky little hospital that was in Putney. So I'm not sure it totally works.
But it doesn't just detract from the movie at all. Like it's just my brain, because there's later in the movie, there is a scene where the doctor is trying to figure out what is going on, because you know, he's saying it was a beast and they're all saying, you know, that it was a human. And so he's like, I'm going to just drive up there and see what's going on. And it was just going like an hour little drive. And like, I'm like, I've driven for an hour when I've been in London, or I've ridden in a car for an hour and I still was in London. I don't know how, it's little things like that it kind of makes me laugh, or it kind of, you know, it's how my brain works. But no, it was great. You know, it wasn't super comedic. There were things that I found funny, but I don't know if I would classify it as a horror comedy. Do you?
Really?
Yeah.
I totally do. And I'm really interested in why. So, but for me, I think it's because it feels like it's still a buddy comedy. You know, it's the two guys taking the mick out of each other. You know, he shows up and he's like, he calls his friend a meatloaf. The guy, like half dead ghoul, shows up in Alex's apartment, peeks in, is like nice and nurse. Like they have this buddy comedy relationship, and just there happens to be the werewolf. But why don't you? Because I think this is really interesting.
Well, okay, so yes, those two have, because they're best friends. They're obviously backpacking through Europe. I don't know why you start the moors, but we'll go past that. So they're backpacking through Europe, and yes, they're comedic together, and I get that. And even when they're just cold, like, and kind of making fun of each other and stuff like that, I get that. But I guess I find myself in Shaun of the Dead, or in Dale and Tucker versus Evil is an American one that was a horror comedy, and a lot of those, I think it's almost slapstick-ish with the kills. Maybe that's where my brain goes with it. Like Cockneys vs. Zombies, they punted a baby. We talked about that. This one was a werewolf movie that had some guys that were friends, so they're joking. So I guess I just didn't put the two, like, it into a horror comedy. I enjoyed the movie. I really did like the movie. There were some funny lines in the movie. I actually laughed at the nurse when she's showing him the apartment. And I don't know why I laughed at that part, but she was just like, oh, I'm a working girl. and it's not much. And I'm like, well, that's bigger than any, like, that's a huge ass apartment.
Yeah, it's a really nice London apartment. It's massive.
And then she's like, I've had 7 lovers. 2 of them were one night stands, and she's just like very matter of fact. And that made me laugh, but it was almost just more for like her personality, like the personality spectrum of like, how do I deal? Like, it was cute. I mean, it was funny.
How about like the scenes where so he uses music in a really great way? What about scenes like you've got these great action scenes, but like the scene where David turns into a werewolf is a sort of body horror creepy scene. But
Yes.
Playing over the top of it is, I think, the Sam Cooke version of Blue Moon.
Yep.
And I find that hilarious. Don't you think there's some comedy to that?
Now that you mention it, yeah, but I guess I didn't think. I will say that when he, like, it would have been very easy for him to be screaming, writhing in pain, a cutaway shot of like a shadow, and then come back and he's a werewolf. No, man, they put the fangs or the nail, the paws, like his hands, lengthening, and then like the nails ripping through his fingers, and like, for that being, was that 1979, 1980? 81. Okay. That's amazing what they did. Like, I thought that was the best part of the movie, was just his transformation into this horrific werewolf beast.
Yeah. I mean, it was
I didn't even catch the Blue Moon.
Maybe that's the thing. Maybe it's because I've seen it so many times. Maybe the first time you watch it, it's so shocking. You don't, because you see him like you said, it's all the little things, but it's a long scene. It's not 30 seconds of seeing these things in like quick snaps. You see it gradually come on him. And so you practically can feel your own skin stretching as his body does. It's just,
Yes, I did the whole like clenched my fist and like released a couple times when they were showing his hands lengthening and doing that, because it felt uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it wasn't dark in the sense of like a horror werewolf movie. Like, I guess I should say, like, it didn't feel like it was there to gross you out or to do anything. It was like, this is how he transforms to do his thing. And so I enjoyed it. Yeah. I mean, I just didn't catch the comedy parts. It doesn't take away from the movie, but
I think that's really interesting, because you're right. It's like, what is it that we think makes something specifically a comedy rather than just like a movie that has funny bits in it? Right. Because that's something it bothers me, not in the horror world. If people don't mind me jumping out of horror, you get all these quote dark comedies now that are dramas where someone tells a joke and you're like, this isn't a comedy movie. Right. So I sympathize with that. Actually, you're right. Like, just because there are really funny scenes like that one, like I love the scene when they're in the porno theater and there's all the dead people and like the blonde couple are like, oh, you can kill yourself doing this. We're so cheery. Okay, I take that back. That scene made me laugh out loud when I was watching it. You got like the 3 men who were like, what they call it in England, living rough, like they're homeless men that he killed. And then he killed the banker, who was like the stereotypical banker, pinstripe suit. When he dies, like his papers go everywhere. What's he carrying all his papers for? No one knows. They don't even know. But he's got papers everywhere. But you have the couple, and he's trying to figure out how to kill himself. And he's like, what if I hang myself? And his friend, Jack, is like, oh, don't do that. Because, I mean, if it doesn't work, you could just really, I mean, you'd be in a lot of pain for a long time. And then like the homeless guy's like, well, we don't care. And then, like and then someone's like, sleeping pills. And she's like, oh, that's not truthful enough, or like you could miss. And he's like, oh, a gun would work. And they're very excited. She's like, oh, you just put it next to your forehead and you just shoot. You're done. Yeah, they're having a great time. They're like, this is brilliant. And they keep coming up with new ones. I think she's like, she picks a few other ones as well later. I can't remember. Someone says drowning, for example. And they're like, ooh, yeah, let's do this. Yeah. This is fun. Very excited. They were living the life in the mid-world of walking Earth until this is over. But they were also like the freshest kills, right? Like they were, the other one, by that time, Jack had decomposed to like this gray matter skull. Yeah, no, so that was funny. I guess when I watched it, I just thought it more of like a werewolf movie with a couple funny lines. Like you said, dark comedies drive me nuts because it is a drama where something funny happens and like one thing happens or 2 things happens. It doesn't make it a comedy in my eyes. It just makes it's still a dramedy, but I laughed in one part. Exactly. I think people forget that a comedy is there's like structure to a comedy, and there's more going on than just, oh, I laughed some.
Right. Totally get that. But you know what else I really enjoyed? And I had to pause the movie. I don't like doing that during the movies. But our friend Alan Ford is in American Werewolf in London. And I had to pause it and then go and look it up online because I was like, that's Alan Ford. But that's young Alan Ford. Like, he didn't have gray hair. He was just a cabbie.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? Oh, describe the scene for them, by the way, because the watchers might not know.
Oh, so yeah, so the doctor has come to the conclusion that David is probably a werewolf, or he's dangerous. Something has gone on where he could be dangerous. This is after he's gone to the slaughtered lamb in Yorkshire or in the moors. He calls the nurse, who the nurse has now taken David in, and they've become romantically involved. Because why not? He was scratched up, half dead for 3 months and was in the hospital for a week, and now he lives with a girl in London.
Yeah.
I'd go to the moors if that was the payout. I'm just saying.
He's living the dream.
He's living the dream. He really is.
And Jenny Agutter as well. I mean, seriously, the dream.
Oh yeah, he could have done worse. He could have done the first nurse in there. That would have been worse. So, sorry. No shame on her. He just picked right. He just ended up right. So she's like, I can bring him in. He's totally fine. Like, he was in a good mood. He had just woken up and come back from the coyote or the wolf cage at the zoo, and like, he's feeling great because he ate, basically. He had not been eating since he'd been attacked by werewolves. So now he's got like blood and he feels good. And he gets in the cab, and as soon as he gets in the cab, the guy's like, oh, it reminds me of what did you say? The Butcher of Fleet Street.
Oh yeah, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, I think.
Oh, Demon Barber of Fleet Street. So Sweeney Todd, right?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, there were 6 murders last night, and he's talking, and I knew the voice, but it's the back of the taxi cab driver's head. And then he turns around briefly as he's talking to them, and then it hits David like, oh my God, I did this. Because he thought it was just a dream. He had been having these horrible nightmares. One nightmare sequence was so good. Anyone who hasn't seen it, it's like, I don't know how, troll Nazis that come into the house.
That's my favorite one.
What a great scene.
Amazing scene. We're gonna ruin this is a movie club. You should have watched the movie beforehand. If you haven't, it's cool, but like, we're not gonna be sensitive to that.
It's 1981.
It's so great because it starts out with the family like hanging out in a normal family way, and then just bam, the door opens, and like you said, they've got like monstrous faces and they're dressed up as Nazis. Yeah. And not only do they cause chaos, but like they grab on to David, and they have a knife on his throat, so he has to watch it all before he dies.
It was so, and even like a little bit of foreshadowing is as the family is sitting there having their dinner and they're watching the Muppets, and in the Muppet Show, they're like, someone's beating someone with a stick, and Miss Piggy's like, this is so violent, and he's like, no, it's just kind of the way it goes. And then these like troll Nazis come in, and then like they're just shooting people and like cutting up people and stabbing people, and that was a great scene. But those are the type of nightmares that he's been having. So I think in his mind, he had a nightmare that he turned into a wolf, killed a bunch of people, but then woke up back home. Well, no, he didn't wake up back home. He woke up at the zoo. And then the best one-liner that I've ever heard, trying to get some balloons to cover himself up because he's butt naked, and now there's people walking around. He's like, I'll give you £1 for your balloons. And then this little boy comes over and, go ahead, you can. He's like, some strange American man, naked. Oh, a strange naked American man is trying to buy my balloons. Is that right? Did I get that right?
It's really close. Hang on, I actually wrote it down because
I should have wrote it down.
It's such a great line. A naked American man stole my balloons. And the mom just goes, what?
What? Yeah. What? And then the next thing you see him is you see everyone at the bus stop waiting for the bus, and you see like feet not in shoes, and they scroll up, and it's him wearing a woman's red coat, and he's just happy. He's just like acting like nothing's wrong. So
it's all good.
Yeah. You know what? That character, he was in the Slaughtered Lamb and acted normal. Like, this was okay, just a little strange. He was naked and looking for things and got a coat and was in the middle of everything. Nothing wrong. Going home to his girlfriend's house straight from the hospital, and they're on the subway, and it's 1981, right? So like the punk rock movement is very big, and like they're like having to stand up on this jam-packed subway line, and there's like punk rockers all around, and he's like making faces at the girl, and he's that character, he's very comfortable in uncomfortable situations.
He is very chill. I have to say that was where you had the bugbear of like, why are they going to this hospital? No one is worried. The guy woke up naked in a zoo. He's chill with it. He goes back to Alex in the coat, in this woman's coat with the like black bird. It's like, gosh, it's cold today. And the guy calls up, he's like, is he okay? I was like, oh yeah, he's fine. You know, he's excited. It's all good. And I'm like, what is wrong with you people?
Oh, so if your husband came home in a woman's red coat and nothing else at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, you'd be like, oh, hey, he's in a good mood.
Yeah. You
all
wouldn't
is
even
well.
be like, whose coat is that?
There'd be so many questions. I don't even know if the coat would be the first question.
My first question would be the quote, but it would be coming out of my mouth as I went, you're naked. Why are you naked?
Naked, coat, where have you been? You're not even from here. It's not like you went home. You don't have any friends. Your one friend is dead.
You're right.
She brought this poor, hurt, helpless puppy home, and then the puppy left and like is doing things. She doesn't even care.
It's worse the more you think about it. The more like this makes no sense. And then she's like happy and laughing, and she's like, oh, we'll just go in to see the doctor. It's all fine, really.
Yeah, no, they thought it was going to be good. I mean, and you know, in typical fashion, just to kind of wrap up the movie part, but like at the end, he's the wolf. She knows it's him, and they come and shoot him and kill him. And he then turns back into Naked Man because he's no longer the wolf. And it ends. And I kind of felt like that's where it was going to go. Like I knew there wasn't like, you know, American Werewolf in London Part 9. All the stuff you missed in the first 8. But so I knew there was going to be a natural conclusion, because sometimes movies just need natural conclusions. So many times now they try to leave them open to like, oh, we might be able to make more money if we just leave it open. So, but I did like that. And I thought it was a great movie, you know, an hour and 40 minutes. I thought it was excellent. They showed the same scenes of London kind of over. I mean, I think they were in Trafalgar Square like 9 times.
Well, they've got the best one. So I think they use London really well. Obviously, this is my like little platform because I love this.
Yeah.
I think they get all those touristy ones. You're right. They've got he fights with a police officer. Well, he tries to get arrested, but he doesn't actually fight. He curses out the Queen. And I mean, honestly, if you think you're going to get arrested in London for cursing, you have another thing coming. He even
jibed King Charles.
Yes, he called him gay. And then at the end of the movie, I don't know if anyone but me does this. At the end of the credits, they say like congratulations to Charles and Diana on their wedding, which had just happened. Did you see that?
Oh, that's funny.
Credits?
No,
yeah.
I didn't watch all the way through. That's pretty funny.
That was good. But yeah, so they have that scene in Trafalgar Square, the London Zoo. He wakes up in. There's an amazing little sequence on the underground with the banker guy, with the chase. There's at the very end, the blue cinema, the porno cinema that we were talking about. That's at Piccadilly Circus. That's my favorite scene in the whole thing, is that Piccadilly Circus scene. I have it if anybody, bless you if you have been to my lectures, you know, I very often talk about that Piccadilly Circus scene. But so you have all these big famous, anyone who's seen pictures of London knows it. But then like Alex lives in Pimlico, like 5 minutes down the road from me. And the church that they pass by, if you're a Londoner, you've seen that church. And the hospital's in Putney. And the attack on the couple is up in Hampstead Heath. And so like there's little bits of local London too.
Interesting. Yeah, no, and as someone who I don't know, like I know the big points, right? So like I actually thought the tube killing was great.
Yes.
That it was just a good scene, and it was very London. The movie was very London to me. It just seemed to be like kind of the same, because those lions where he's trying to get arrested, and then they're like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Don't you think I'm serious?" She's like, "I think is this a prank? Like, maybe you shouldn't be arrested. Like, there's just something wrong." First of all, if I agree, I just walking around London, if someone was messing with or talking loudly as anti-royal family, no one's going to care.
No.
Also, I don't think anyone's going to care if you're walking around talking gibberish in London.
No, he starts saying, like, I think he says, like, you know, sorry for if you're 1800. I think he says, like, you know, cunt, shit, fuck. And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
like that happens to me when I walk through Soho at night.
I was gonna say, like, we've walked through places when we took the kids, and like I was like, okay, so this is where we just keep walking forward. Like, you just don't pay attention to, eyes straight, just don't pay attention to what people are saying, because there's just all sorts of languages and good, bad, people preaching Bible stuff, people talking about hell, like the royal family, something in Lebanon. I mean, there's stuff everywhere. So that was interesting that everyone's now looking at him, at Trafalgar Square of all places. Everyone's like, oh, what's going on here? Like, no, I don't know if that would happen, but
I wonder if it's because he was talking to a police officer. I wonder if that's the thing, is he's making a fuss in front of the police, so they think maybe something might be going on.
Maybe. I think, I guess my opinion of London is, it's like the one city where everyone just minds their own business.
Yes, that's true. Everyone's got their own thing going on. It's fine.
Yep. No one cares about what you're doing as long as you're not hurting them directly. But it was a great London film. I mean, you could tell everything. Nothing was like maybe there were stages, but like even the apartments like felt very like where I've stayed before, like kind of an Airbnb. Like you walk in and then there's like another door, and everything kind of felt, you could tell they filmed it on the streets.
Yeah, he did a great job. So the crowded Piccadilly Circus scene they did at night in actually Piccadilly Circus, so holding up traffic for sections of time and then filming a bit and then letting some traffic through and stuff. It's amazing what he managed to do. It's like with 28 Days Later, where they had to get up at 4 a.m. to film everything that was quiet in London. You sort of go, it's incredible what the directors think of so that they can actually use the real spots. It's amazing.
Yeah, get their shots in like the world's busiest city. Like, that's crazy.
I love all of the London stuff, but I'm curious from the outside perspective, was there like a moment where you thought, oh, it was really clever that you did this in London for this shot or this scene?
I think having the zoo is great. I mean, I don't know. I mean, just having it in such a big cosmopolitan city that everyone kind of knows, right? Like, I know a lot more people that have seen or been to London or studied abroad at Cambridge, studied abroad, in England, than have been to Rome or that have been to Paris or that have been to insert city here. And so maybe that's what's nice about it. Plus, you can also say like it's authentic in the sense that like I can understand a London accent. I don't like when movies are like, oh, we're in Berlin and everyone just sounds English. You know what I'm saying? Like it takes away a little bit for me. I understand why they do it, greater audience. And a lot of people, I guess, in Europe do also speak English to an extent, so they can still watch it. But if I'm in the middle of Berlin, they're not speaking English to me.
Yeah.
So in London, you can kind of get away with it. Just had an authentic feel to it. And I did not know, you said that the Blue Theater, like that's in Soho.
So it's right underneath the Piccadilly Circus sign.
Piccadilly Circus. Okay.
Yeah. So it's part of that sort of Soho red light district that used to exist that now kind of doesn't anymore. But yeah, it's the best thing about that scene for me. And I apologize. I know you didn't ask this. I love talking about this one particular thing about the scene, and then so I'm going to go for it. The thing I find brilliant about that scene is, like you said, throughout the whole movie, we do see a lot of mauling. We see the sort of the attack of the werewolf a lot as the main source of concern and terror and fear. And then you have this Piccadilly Circus scene, and David he changes into a werewolf inside the Blue movie theater. So he's sort of contained. They drop like one of those metal gates, and but the police sort of show up, they're holding him out, and eventually the werewolf breaks through. He kills the guy at the sort of center. I think it's the police commissioner. He bites off his head. So you have one kill. Now, in the rest of this scene, you see a lot of dead bodies. There's like people who are thrown through car windows, trampled on the streets, cars pull over each other. Somebody gets thrown through an ATM vestibule. You see bodies getting run over, trampled, screaming and everything. And in this, you get little cuts away to the wolf. But the wolf hasn't done anything. Everyone's going nuts about him, and he's just walking away, snapping at people. So you have a scene where like maybe a dozen people die, and the wolf only killed one of them. And to me, I'm like, that's that you can only do that in a massive city like London. That it is somewhere where a tiny little bit of panic can cause mass damage. because of how many people and how busy it is.
That's interesting. I didn't. I mean, I remember watching it and going, "This is crazy." Everything, crazy. Like, but yeah, that's true. He only killed one, and
Yeah.
you couldn't do that if you are in the middle of Topeka, Kansas, and you're at the movie theater, and you turn into a werewolf. I don't know if you're going to get the same carnage you're going to get in Piccadilly Circus, London, where there's not a time of day that it's not busy, right? I mean, it's
No, exactly. I was thinking like back home, our main street back in Chapel Hill, where Chris and I grew up, is called Franklin Street. And don't get me wrong, there's people there. There's a university. But like, I don't think it would be anywhere near as bad if a wolf like jumped out of the middle of Franklin Street and just ran off into the university. He'd have some screams, but everyone would be fine.
No, probably people would just think it was a fraternity prank. Seen some crazy things in that town too. But yeah, it's that was a great scene. I mean, the theater scene was great in a lot of ways. Just as like the climax of the movie too, like kind of towards that end, and with all the people he's killed, and they've kind of determined everything, and yes, I need to die, and then he's like, please leave, I'm turning, like he doesn't want to turn. And
that was great when because that's another really clever, I'm just going to be praising Landis to the skies now. The guy is changing into a werewolf and he's making all these grunts and he gets really hot is part of the thing. He gets really, really warm and starts sweating. You see a guy in a blue movie theater and he's grunting and moaning and sweaty. Not weird. So of course they don't run. They're like, he's doing his thing. He's having his moment. I'm going to focus on my moment. So this is like the one time where nobody's going to be looking at him going, what the hell is happening?
Yeah, no, there was they show a wide shot of the audience, right? And the other 9 guys don't even pay attention.
Yeah.
But I think that might be an unwritten rule. Like if you are I've not been, but that might be an unwritten rule that if you go to those theaters, you do not look in anyone else's seat.
Yeah.
You definitely don't look behind you. You only look at the screen and then you kind of look at your feet as you walk out.
So yeah, it was the perfect place to do that because no one was going to get suspicious or freaked out.
100%. 100%. So the actress, you mentioned her name. What other movies has she been in that I might have seen or would want to see?
Oh, golly, there's going to be a lot, and it's going to be really embarrassing that the first one I came up with in my brain is The Railway Children, which is a children's movie. So probably not something you'd be super excited to see. Very sweet. It's this family of kids, and they end up, they live near the railway line, and they end up sort of sending giant sheets of messages. Yeah, anyway, sorry. But that's definitely a kid's movie, so maybe not thing. The thing you might have seen her in and not realized is she was in Logan's Run. Have you seen Logan's Run?
I think so. Okay, I'll have to go back and look. Yeah.
So that's the other like big one that she's in. If you watch the TV show more recently, a lot of people are fans of her more recent Call the Midwife. I will confess, I haven't seen that. I'm not so great on the like dramedy TV show thing.
Yeah, no, I Call the Midwife. I've heard of it. Yeah, no, I think I would skip over that. That's okay. That's not a problem. I was getting when I watch these movies, I get the remake vibes, right? So I try to cast the movie with today, and I get really big Maggie Gyllenhaal vibes from her.
Ooh, okay.
And I don't know why, and I don't know who I would cast in the rest of the movie, but I get Maggie Gyllenhaal vibes from her.
I like that. I think it works. And I like this game. So let's think about this. Who would you have let's go with Griffin Dunne's character. Let's go with Jack first, the dead guy who keeps coming back. He's got to be snarky.
Steve Zahn.
Oh, right.
It's Steve Zahn.
You're totally right.
Yep. In every movie, he's the guy who has like the quick one-liners. He's so good at it. And he'll be angsty because he's dead, but he'll still be friendly because it's his friend.
Yeah.
It's Steve Zahn.
No, you're right. So we've got Steve Zahn, we've got Maggie Gyllenhaal. Who would you cast as the main guy, David?
Oh man, you go with that one because that was the one I had the biggest problem. It's got to be like the all-American boy, right?
So I have it's not necessarily everyone's first choice.
Okay.
But like give it a breath and have a think. Seth Rogen.
Interesting.
Because he's kind of sweet. He's not as sort of all-American, you're right, but think about what you said earlier with David is always in these situations. He's kind of always making the best of it, and like awkward stuff's happening all around him and it's fine. Imagine putting Seth Rogen in a position where like just crazy stuff's happening to him and he's just like, he's sort of like shrugging along and being like, okay, I gotta make this work. What's going on?
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it now. I keep getting, I don't know the name of the movie off the top of my head. It's where the aliens invade. It's the End of Days, and it's
and
Seth Rogen.
Yeah,
Michael
and
Cera,
it's like a party and
yeah, it doesn't matter though. But
yeah.
So I see him in that. He's definitely more stoned and freaked out. But if you take away the stoned part, I could see it. I could see Seth Rogen in there.
The flip side, if you want to go totally the other way of like is you could go with somebody like, oh, actually no, this is the trouble. I know I'm quote young and a millennial. I think of Carrie Elways, and he's what, 60 now, 50 now? Sorry, Carrie. My generational factor is like way off. I think he's older than David Naughton, who played David.
Yeah, he could play the Doctor.
Yes, he could do the Doctor. Good Saw reference in there for anybody who saw him in Saw. Actually, though, okay, so we'll come back to David. So because you have to have a thing, because I've cast Seth Rogen. But the Doctor, who would be a good Doctor?
Who would be a good? See, I think the Doctor could be played a little more creepily. I kind of got creepy vibes from the Doctor in the beginning, and then I realized he's just a doctor. He's played it straight. But do you remember, and I don't even know if the guy's still alive, but he was a shorter man. He was in The Burbs with Tom Hanks.
Okay.
And I'm going to blank on their names. The neighbor, like the short neighbor guy.
Yes. I can't remember his name, but yes, I can picture him.
So, I mean, but that's also like, he was also an actor back in 1981 too. So he probably has been dead for 10 years and I just don't know what his name is. So, but I'm going to go with, he hasn't been in a lot of things lately, but I like this actor and I think that he would be good as David, is Josh Hartnett.
I could see that. So
I could see him and Steve Zahn could both play. I guess Steve Zahn's getting a little older now too, but like they could play that backpacking, like I guess you need a little younger. I mean, I guess that's the problem now is I'm like, oh, Steve Zahn, but like Steve Zahn's like the wisecracking 40-year-old now. He's not a wisecracking 20-year-old.
We're both doing that though. I don't think can we name this is also though a thing. And again, I'm sorry to jump away from horror. We don't value young comedic actors very well. The big stars now that are young tend to avoid comedy.
Yeah.
So then, we're stuck with casting this older generation because.
Yeah, I mean, I can pick young comedians. I mean, you could go Theo Vaughn and I think his name's Steve Reif, who I mean, those are comedians that like you'll see on like the reels on Instagram or something. Like they're pretty big name younger guys, but I don't know if they've been in any movies. I don't know if they can act. I know they're funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's weird. But yeah, when I try to cast, I mean, when I watch a movie like that, I try to cast it. And David was the tough one because that guy looks like all American boy. Like he just has like the dark locks and he's just like happy-go-lucky. And then you do have the wisecracking guy. So Steve Zahn is immediately my wisecracking genius because that's what he does. So, I mean, I love Steve Zahn. He's great. So I'm not, no way am I downing him. I wish I'd make it a bigger part. I'd have him come back and visit David more so he could still be in it more. But
what about someone like Tom Holland? He's got an all-American look to him.
The nice little British boy who has the nice all-American look.
Okay, we're cutting that because that's embarrassing.
You are not cutting that. No way.
Okay, fine. We'll keep it in. I'm embarrassed. You're right. He's British, but he's got that like. Okay, you know what?
No, you know what? No, he would actually be perfect for the role though. And the funny thing is, because he's Spider-Man. So he might be British. He's American.
Exactly. And like he has accent, that sort of nice guy vibe.
100%. We're keeping it in there. We're casting our all-American boy, Tom Holland, as the lead in the new American Werewolf in London.
Love it. And everybody who thinks I'm mad, Please joke about it all you want, because that's pretty embarrassing. I'm pretty impressed that I managed to cast an Englishman as the All-American.
But doesn't that show you how great of an actor Tom Holland is? Is you're thinking, who's a great American, like the young American actor, and who's playing these ultra American roles right now, these young actors? It's Britain's own Tom Holland.
You're right. Yeah. No, it says a lot. Go Tom Holland. There you go. Okay, I gotta, moving on from that, I gotta ask, would you keep it a werewolf, or would you make it a were something else?
A were something else.
So the reason this came to my mind, totally randomly, I was speaking with another horror academic, and she was telling me a little bit about, I don't know a whole lot about India and Pakistan's horror scene, but there's a lot of were tigers. And so when I was watching this and then had this conversation with her, I was like, because that's in the zoo as well, and they have a cut. I think it's actually to a lion. They have a cut to a lion. But I was like, oh, that might be cool.
Like a werebear.
Ooh. They don't really have bears here as well, which is crazy.
Oh, well, they don't have werewolves there either.
No, but they have, well, do they not have wolves?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
I feel like
now I think we're getting into like zombie bears, or like, where they make zombie out of other things. Yeah, no, I've not heard about that. It's interesting though, because like, if there's a werewolf, were-tiger would be just as petrifying, right? Like, it would be totally makes sense. I would keep it a werewolf because you want to make the remake, right? But it's an interesting concept for a movie. I like it.
As well, it's kind of funny if you so it got me thinking, because like this is obviously makes sense because there are tigers in India. I then started thinking about, okay, what are the big scary animals in Britain? Back home, you and I, we grew up, we lived a little bit in Colorado, did Arizona. There are bears. There are things that can kill you. I cannot think of a scene. Like, there are wild animals in Britain. There's the Scottish wild cat, which is about as big as my cat at home. It's not very scary. They've got birds, lots of birds here. We've got snakes and spiders and stuff, but I can't think of like a scary British animal.
I was going to say, like, there's not a whole lot that I think I would be like, I don't know, America, like where we live too, like snakes would be the most like dangerous thing, right? Like you can get bit by a copperhead or something around where I'm at. But yeah, I mean, animal wise, nothing in England that I can think of off the top of my head. Nessie.
Yeah, there we go. The were-Loch. There's a crossover waiting to happen.
Oh my gosh. If you can get a producer to put money in on that one, you've done something. You need to go into sales.
I think it's safe to say that I wouldn't be able to pull that off. But maybe some listener out there, if you think you can get this, we will, I don't know, we'll promote your movie if you can get the were-Loch Ness Monster out in the world. Where
Nessie? Here it coming. Look, they have a movie out now called Cocaine Bear. I don't know if you've got advertised on this. And I guess it's based off of a true story where they're drug smugglers or something. I don't know the story. And
I do. I know the news story. The news story was, there were drug smugglers and they dropped a bag from a plane. I can't remember if it was on purpose or an accident, and a bear ate it.
And died, right? And the bear died. Yeah. Rightfully so. He ate like a kilo of cocaine or whatever it was. But in the movie, I think the bear goes crazy. Like it's going to be insane. So if we can make Cocaine Bear, if we can make Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, which I have seen parts, I am not ready to disclose my full review on it yet. But if we can make those movies, surely we can make a movie about a werewolf Loch Ness Monster.
Yes. I mean, how did some of these things get funding? Where Nessie? Can you, the merchandising alone? Where Nessie?
The National Lottery for Scotland should be putting up the money for this movie.
Yes.
It could be filmed entirely on location.
Perfect. Yes.
Campers go to camp at Loch Ness. It is a full moon. They're partying, they're doing their things. Somebody falls asleep on the shore, half water, like kind of legs in the water, just like passes out. Nessie bites him. Now he turns it into a Loch Ness Monster.
I think as well, it would be fun to do the displacement thing that they do here in American Werewolf. Like he gets bit up in there on Loch Ness, but then goes to like Glasgow or Edinburgh and then has to
Okay.
like find, like a fountain because
That's
he
what
needs
I'm
water.
thinking. So all of a sudden he's just like, I need to be in water. And he like
Yeah.
strips off his clothes and like gets in water, and he always like arches his back just enough so it looks like every one of those videos of like the waves that like people say is Loch Ness. But like that's a horror comedy waiting to happen.
There we go. So we have done the recast, the reboot, and we've given you a new movie. What more could you ask from us, really?
I'll tell you what, we should be in the movie business.
We always have to mention though, what did you have to drink while you had it? What was your pairing for American Werewolf in London? Now that we've
So
successfully made movies.
since we're in there now. Yeah. So I was gonna go with a Merlot, like a glass of wine, and did not have a glass of wine. So I had 2 Boddingtons.
Nice. Kept it British.
Kept it British for this one. I had some Boddingtons.
It's so weird you say that. I had a plan that veered off course as well. So I was going to go with Guinness, not just because it's my favorite drink, which it is, but because I have thought this through way too much. When you pour the Guinness, it obviously has like the bubble issue. And so you have this sort of, and it separates out into this beautiful dark sort of black night, and the like layer of white as the head of the Guinness that's like the fog on the moors. And I was going like, and then if from above it's like a moon. I went way too intricate with this.
Wow. Okay.
And then because my week went kind of weird, I ended up watching this at like 10 in the morning and I wasn't gonna have a Guinness. So I had a tea because I like tea. And then totally by accident, of course, it was amazing because I'm sitting there with my lovely warm English tea with my milk. And the guys go into the pub and ask for something. She's like, if you want something warm, you can have a tea. And she like makes him this very aggressive
That's
tea.
right.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm drinking the right drink.
That's so funny that you say that because yes, Guinness was, the doctor gets a Guinness when he's in there and he's having his Guinness. I was like, oh, Guinness would have been a good one. I should have went with, but I was like, oh, British store, what's here? Oh, Boddington's. Boom, I like Boddington's, and then grabbed that. Yeah, it's perfect for that. You're a traveler of England and the United Kingdom. Would you go to the slaughtered lamb and have a drink, or would you walk right past it, or would you go in and then walk right back out?
The trouble with me is I totally would. I love proper old pubs. Nowadays, especially if you're in London, pubs are restaurants. They're not proper pubs. I mean, actually, I say that there is one near me that is a proper pub with still slot machines and doesn't serve you food and is nice and normal. But most of the time you can't. So I'm a huge sucker for a pub. I will go anywhere for pub, and I would have totally gone in. And because I'm me, I would have saw the pentacle and been like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Did you know the like following long history of the pentacle? And did you know that the color of candles you're burning is part of the ritual of why you have to do this? And if those candles were blue, it would mean something else. And then they would feed me to the wolf because they were pissed off at how annoying and American I was being.
Well, actually, would they feed you? Because you would have been all about it, and they would be like, oh, we don't have to explain anything. Like, I would have been that guy. It's like, oh, remember the Alamo?
Yeah.
Like they say in the movie. Like, I think I would go into that pub too. I've been in uncomfortable situations, but also as a 6'3", 260-pound person, most people don't mess with me out of like normalcy. Like I can probably just sit there and I'm not going to get like, those guys were definitely getting browbeat bad. I don't even know if I got browbeat that bad, I'd have my drink, I'd tip, and I'd leave.
But to be honest, given you are very good with people, what would probably end up happening is you'd end up having like playing darts with the guys in the corner and like telling stories. You probably wouldn't have noticed the pentacle. You would have just made loads of friends because they start out kind of it's awkward.
They were fine. Yeah, they were completely fine. Yep.
I think you would have just gone with it. I think you would have loved the Alamo joke. I think you would have been like chill and fun. And I think it would
I'm like, oh, you know that joke. Well, wait till you hear this one.
Exactly. That's another weird thing, though. And I was thinking about this as well. Like, where the heck did David and Jack think they were going to go? They knew there was literally nothing else around except moors. Were they just going to walk all night?
Oh, yeah. You got me there. I don't even know why they dropped him off from they were at the beginning of the movie. They're driving in this truck with sheep. Then the guy drops him off. He goes, stick to the roads. Don't go into the moors. And then leaves. And I'm like, well, there's nothing there. Why did you drop him off there? Like, I, with your sister-in-law, we have hitchhiked before.
No way.
In a different country. We took a bus. We were in Bermuda, not a huge country by any means. We took a bus. We went to like some far out lighthouse or fort or something and had to come back. Well, the buses weren't running anymore. So Bermuda, not like London where you can get a taxi or get whatever. We're by like houses at this point. Like it's just people's houses. And we're walking and we're like, this is before cell phones. So this was in 2001. We're like, yeah, we'll just start heading. I mean, it's a smaller island, but like, we're like, we'll head back there. It'll be like a 30 or 40-minute walk. And a guy in like a little 2-seater truck, maintenance guy, we waved him down. Lauren got in the passenger seat. I sat in the back of the truck and he took us to town. He didn't take us to another place that had nothing around. He took us to where there were people.
That's a really good point. You're right. I think it says amazing things about this movie, that there are all these really weird kind of things, and it's still completely amazing.
Yeah, no, it's great. I really did like the movie, and it actually made me want to try to watch American Werewolf in Paris just to see how bad it is.
I mean, if you do, I'm going to have to ask you about it at the beginning of the next one, because I haven't seen it in a while, and I remember. So I was watching it at university long before the internet was on our phones. And I remember I ended up midway through getting up and making like my lunch for the next day and like cooking with it in the background. It was not the world's greatest film.
That says a lot about that right there. But
yeah.
I am glad we picked this movie this time. But now for next episode, it is your choice.
Okay, I'm going with one that I am almost 100% certain you've never even heard of before, but was big here in Britain. I'm going with The Abominable Dr. Phibes. Now, the reason for this is that it's the main character in this is Vincent Price, so classic horror actor. He's the guy who does the voice, the talkover in Thriller. So weirdly connection between this movie and that.
Okay.
And it's the reason I'm picking it. I know you love a good kill, and this film has some of the most creative ways to kill somebody of any movie I've ever seen. Whether or not you think you like the movie as a whole, I think there's going to be a kill in there for you.
Perfect. I am in. I'm ready. Abominable Dr. Phibes.
Yes. I will send you the title, but Please do. It is a British classic. It's well loved, and I think it's fun horror.
Okay, so for next episode, The Abominable Dr. Phibes, and I will also let you know my opinion on American Werewolf in Paris.
And I will watch Cocaine Bear, and I'll let you know
there you
how
go.
that goes.
I will try to watch Cocaine Bear as well. We'll do a little sneak review of that. My favorite part of Cocaine Bear, by the way, is we have a Twitter account for London Horror Movie Club, and I follow different horror sites and stuff like that, and I love some of the fan art that goes on. People will redo like movie posters and stuff like that. I find that stuff very interesting and just like it's very cool to look at. Well, Cocaine Bear has got the best, and the best one I've seen, I think you might have even sent it to me, was Fozzie Bear from the Muppets and a Cocaine Bear, and then he had like white powder on his nose. And I was like, this movie is going to be popular as a cult classic just because it's Cocaine Bear. And then now you can do all these like fan arts of these things. And I've seen it's going to be so great.
That was an amazing one. My second favorite one was the Care Bears with a big old thing of a mirror of Coke. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, if you want to see cool fan art redone of the posters, you can follow us on Twitter, because I will, if I see good ones, I like to try to reshare those and keep up with those people, because they're doing funny things and cool things. I mean, these artists are amazing. So
great. So we are set for next time. I hope you guys will watch it with us. Thank you so much, Chris. Again, it's
all right. Thank you. Yeah, always great. Always great. We'll talk to you guys later.
See you next time. Thanks for listening. If you want to share your thoughts about this episode, please head to our Facebook or YouTube pages. We're grateful to Cucurbit, who made our music. Thank you for listening, and please join us next time for the London Horror Movie Club.